I think part of the problem of postmodernistic culture, you can't really be wrong. Because if you're wrong, you're part of a parallel universe. That's the way it is. It's a parallel universe. You can't be wrong. You're probably just in a different world, and what you knew is wrong, and that's just the way it is. The world is probably changed around you, and you haven't changed. That's postmodernism. That's the argument. That's what works. Some of the most postmodernistic cultures, like the Chinese, are also quite grounded people. I don't know how they manage. Their language is different, the symbols are different. But there's a universal understanding of how to stay connected, and numbers, they just think of numbers. They say numbers should always be consistent. Meanings change. Meanings change. They don't really stay forever. People change, meanings change. And their culture is like that, their language is like that, their economy has become like that. I go to a dollar store and they have mugs, so many ceramic mugs. In the old days, the one with the gold or the copper trim that's fancier, more expensive taste for richer people or people that have expensive taste would have costed more than the plain drab looking one. But today, there's sub-markets for everybody. So you look at the whole mugs, all the porcelain or whatever they are, ceramic mugs, they're all the same price because everybody has different tastes. And that's what social media and that's what marketing and advertising has been able to do, is bring out like, hey, whatever you're into isn't less than that guy. It's the same thing as that guy. It's just a different taste. And I just couldn't believe it because one has so much more work done on it. One had like imprints, and then on top of that they glazed it. Then on top of that they copper rimmed the handle and the rim. The other one is just once over, just glazed once over, and it's, and the other ones are just like typical prints. There's no embossing on it. Whereas the one that has embossing and like 3 times the work still costs the same money. And it's not about whether you know that. It's about there's no mainstream group to aspire to follow. The aspirational group that is the highest, like we had in high schools in the United States. And there's the coolest group, then there's a subculture. There might be a counterculture in the subculture against the coolest group. And everybody was kind of in a different thing. Stuff for them is going to have the nerds or the geeks or the whatever they are, the rockers, the metalheads, or the the Star Wars fans or the goths. They have cheaper stuff because they're poorer. Their culture is cheaper. Their subculture is cheaper. It's not like that anymore. Their stuff costs a fortune. Goth wear. It's all fashion, and it's all different, and taking it away from that idea that it's all expensive for everybody. No, it's not. There's stuff you do. You make it at home. You dye your own shirts black, or whatever it may be. And it started out as a real, and they say, what is a sellout? That's the question. There's no sellout anymore. You're not selling out if you buy it at a boutique store instead of dyeing your clothes black and making your collar. That's just goth culture, because I know someone who's a friend of mine who's a goth, and then they evolved, and one of the groups came out, the emos. They weren't trans, they were just emos. They're emotional men or whatever. What I'm trying to say is that even is out of date. That's now a decade and a half old, whereas a decade and a half ago this stuff was new and fresh and young and the coolest thing ever. So the markets are reflecting postmodernistic culture, and it's communistic marketplace. It is a communistic market. But it only costs us, we manufacture it. Yeah, one mug costs a little bit more to make, but we sell it all at the same price. And believe it or not, maybe the stuff that's easier or cheaper, drabby, or made just on one form, that sells better. We make more money on that. And I think that's what it's about. It's not about raw materials and then cost of goods sold and then profit margin and then final retail price. It's not like that anymore. Now it's just like, move the product, people are going to buy it, and it might be of many kinds, and you're not, maybe to an emerging market, you might take the better mugs and buy a bunch of them. Some guy in the poor countries, that's how it is. In Gaza, it's like that, even stealing food aid right now. They're stealing food aid, that's what they're doing. Dilapidated, broken markets, emergency, panic mode situations, and I think a lot of markets remain that way. because of their warlords and their fascist leaders stealing most of their product from them. At minimum. That's what I think happened. So when the market evolves entirely and it reaches a high level, it comes to a point where it flattens out a bit and everybody gets almost the same stuff, or everybody gets different things. They get what they want, but they pay similar prices. And I think that's what it is. And that's what's going to happen. I think that's the difference between what we knew as young markets that were developing. Well, you got to charge more for this because it'll sell higher. You know, today a Hyundai and an Audi and a Mercedes of a certain kind almost sell at the same price. 70, 80 grand. Genesis or whatever the brand is that Hyundai has. That is. We've come to a point where we accept that we don't always have to make such huge differences in the marketplace. Where the real problem is going to be with our developed our markets are developed. The problem is our real estate market is going backwards. Neo-feudalism. Our real estate is going feudalistic. Does everybody want to rent? Does it make a difference if you pay mortgage or rent? That's what we have to figure out. Not everyone lives, there's families. What are our children inheriting? Are they inheriting land and some money to have an advantage? Or are they going to inherit education and some kind of discipline to compete in the marketplace? And we have to figure that out. That's where the future is, guys. Figuring out why are we going through these changes and why can't we solve these problems? How can we let the top level, the elites, all the way down to the guy who needs bread and butter from the government every day, how do we get them all to function